Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot on the Pagan Perspective. This week's question comes from Eric, one of our previous hosts, and he writes, your personal practices for keeping negativity away, placating piskies, and the like. So I don't really work with the pixies in order to keep negativity away. I just try to keep them happy as much as possible and honor them as individual beings. So I know we talked about that a few weeks ago. So, not really a part of my practice, but I get where you're going with this. Personal practices, let's break this down into several different categories here. Keeping negativity away personally from my own self is basically the good old energy bubble. Putting up a bubble around myself and not letting anything come in within that bubble, my own personal bubble. So that's basically the number one way that I keep negativity away from myself. Beyond that, I have done cleansings with sage primarily. I don't really jive with lemongrass, or at least I haven't in the past. I never really bought it. I never really used it. I think I have some laying around that I got with a lot of herbs that I bought in bulk at one point, but never really used it that much. So as far as lemongrass, not really a big part of my practice as far as cleansing negativity away and whatnot. So, not really a part of my practice. I have used crystals to keep negativity away, or to draw negativity away from me, or to encapsulate negativity, to bring negativity in. A good one to use would be citrine or amethyst. Your self-cleansing type of stones like that. Selenite is also a good one to have around. And of course, you can't leave out good old clear quartz. Clear quartz will do whatever you want it to do, and you can give it a job and it'll be more than happy to do it for you. So some stones here and there sometimes I do use for my own personal protection or for their cleansing abilities. So that is something that I have used in the past. As far as protection for the four-legged individuals in this household, you can probably see Minn Kota laying down over here. I've never really done any type of protection spells or anything on the animals, on the pets. My familiar jelly is around here somewhere. I've never really done any type of protection spell work or anything like that on them, because the way that I see animals is that they kind of straddle the veil of being able to see energy and whatnot. So for me, in the way that I think, it's kind of not really needed, because they can see the negative energy where it's at and whatnot and stay away from it. They can also see the good energy and go towards it and be in comfort there. So as far as the animals go, I've never really done any specific type of spells on them as far as protection spells. As far as the household goes, I don't really do protection magic on the house. Like I said, I do keep crystals around here and there, and they do their jobs as either they're assigned or as they naturally have jobs to do. They do their jobs. But I've never really done much in the terms of protection magic on the house. I used to. I did some with my house in Jersey, and I did some with the apartment I lived in whenever I was in Kansas. But as far as here, I haven't done anything yet. And the reason behind that is because if I put up a barrier of protection saying that nothing can come in, it's going to be a solid barrier of protection. And that's going to include anybody that has any mischievous intents, both physical and energetic, as well as anybody that is also with good intentions. So I wouldn't want to do that, and of course I could do it where it's only the negative that get barred out. But you know what? Sometimes I need the excitement, I guess. Not that I invite it, but I do kind of like to hone my skills whenever those moments come up. I don't shy away from, getting into the nitty-gritty and making sure that negative energy is dealt with in an appropriate manner. So for me, that's not really a big deal, and it's something that kind of keeps me on my toes, keeps me kind of in tune, rather than just sitting here in my fortress and not ever being bothered. Now, there are times whenever stuff like a protection spell is very much needed, especially if you have a lot of negative energy coming at you at one time, and I really haven't had that type of instance in quite a few years. So I think everything is okay, and if it's not, then I take care of it, whenever it comes up. It's not something that really comes up that often, but whenever it does, I take care of it, and that's that. So for protection spells on the house, whenever it does come, I handle it appropriately. Now, like I was saying, if I did a protection spell on the house, or any type of protection magic on the house, that nothing could come in, I kind of like things to come in. There are certain times whenever spirits come around that I kind of invite them in. If there's a spirit that comes around, even if they're a little bit on the rude side, I've had some rude spirits come through where, not necessarily that they were an angry spirit or had ill intentions, but I've had them come through where they were just kind of assholes. And I've had them come through and I offer to help them. And they just go about their way whenever they're done just being rude, and I send them on their way, and that's that. But I also keep the barriers down, because sometimes those ones that come in and they seem like they're rude, sometimes they come in and they actually just really want some help, and I'm more than willing to help a spirit whenever they come around and want some help. And furthermore, on that same wavelength, I also want to talk about household spirits, or spirits that are tied to an area or tied to a home or something like that. Sometimes they're good, and I definitely would never want to get rid of those ones. I had one in New Jersey. His name was Mike, and he would always stand at the top of the steps, and Mike just did his thing. He watched over the house. He had no ill intentions, and we had a solid line of, hey, if you have no ill intentions, you're more than welcome to stay here. I will help you move on. And just know that if you ever do anything that is considered negative in my mind, and we had a solid line of what I would consider negative, if you ever do anything that's negative, then you're going to be out of here. And I drew that line with him. I said, you know what, this is how it's going to be, and that's that. And the most I ever had with him was that he kind of was a little creepy, where he would just stare. And you know what? I tell him to go away, and he did it. So I don't really do protection spells for the home in that instance, because I do like the spirits to come around every once in a while, and whenever I'm not in the mood or I don't want to be bothered or something like that, I tell them to either have patience and wait for whenever I am ready, or I tell them that I can't deal with this right now. You're going to either have to wait, or you're going to remove yourself. You're just going to excuse yourself from my home. And they usually abide by that. But I've never really had any big in-your-face negative experiences where that's really been an issue. Most of them are usually pretty good about it, at least the ones that I've dealt with. Until that time comes whenever I feel like I need to put up that barrier and need to keep it up for an extended period of time, I don't really like to put up those barriers if not needed. So that's my video for this week. I think I covered all the bases I wanted to. I kind of go through this whole video in my head, usually on the ride home from work, or while I'm cleaning in the house and whatnot. So I think I hit on all the points that I was thinking about earlier. So hopefully I covered the whole topic and discussed everything that I was thinking about earlier. If I didn't, I'm sure one of the other hosts will either come up with additional things or things that they do differently, and I really enjoy seeing those videos as well. So I can't wait to see what the other hosts have to say as well. And I do know that Eric, it was either on his personal channel or on the Pagan Perspective, that he did a video about how he protects his home. So I think it was on the Pagan Perspective. If it is, you guys can easily find that by going to the blog for the Pagan Perspective that is in the bottom bar. And if he did it on his personal channel, then I do suggest going to his personal channel and checking that video out. Some really interesting ways that he protects his home and his area and whatnot, and even how he protects himself. I think he covered it in the tattoo video as well. So, Eric, I thank you for the question. It's been a long time since we've caught up, and I definitely need to Facebook message you sometime because we have some catching up to do. I haven't talked to you in a long time, so I'll talk to you all later. Until next time, may you guys have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.